All right, everyone, we are live with a 20-second delay, so fuck y'all. So we got 7 crafts coming soon to a store near you. Got me and Rob. Barrett does not have internet yet. Again, yeah. So we got a card to show you kids. Do I have any? You saw I showed you the card last night, Rob. You want to say anything before we preview it?
About it? No.
Oh no, I mean like you excited for it? And, it's kind of neat. Okay, so
Yeah. I mean, it's got some sweet art. I guess you already showed the art. So
yeah, so let's just cut into it. So it's called Shimmer of Madness. It is E commit. It's E disc. Remove 1 card from your discard pile. 5+. Your gauge rating is -1. Minimum. I think I can't read it. It's too tiny right now. So, but yeah. Anywho, but you can read it right there on the screen. So what? Okay, first, good numbers on the card. 0, 5.
I was gonna say first. Yeah. Let's talk about like symbols. It's Eugenia. She's got chaos, void, and water. Water, I feel like is the somewhat unexpected symbol in this for me. Sure. I know in Exceed she's sort of a discard character, so like void was pretty expected. Yeah. And chaos, I think if she's supposed to be like a Cheshire cat type character,
she's
like
kind of crazy.
Chaos definitely fits.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, actually for a 0-5, it has a nice block on it for +2 mid, I guess. Sure. 0 divs with mids. It doesn't have a 6 check, which is, I guess, kind of sad.
That's fine. We don't need
everything has 6 checks now. 6 check there, 6 check there. Y'all get 6 checks. But I think, so the big thing is gauge. I was told by Clint Badger, he looked up some Exceed stuff, and gauge is kind of like momentum in UFS.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Rob.
Right, so your gauge is basically when an attack hits, it like after it clears, like you have the option to add it to your gauge. Mm-hmm. And right, you can just pay for effects with that. Yeah. I guess like in the game, like sometimes you can pay for stuff with cards from your hand, but then if you have gauge, you can substitute gauge instead. And then there will be certain attacks that ask you to pay costs and gauge, or like the big attacks, effectively sort of like the super moves or like the ultras or whatever you want to call them. Those have a gauge cost. Yeah. And you need like in order to even play those attacks, you need to spend. It's usually somewhere between like 2 to like 5, depending on how big it is. And depending on the character. I mean, obviously some characters get gauge a lot easier than others.
I know that Eugenia's type thing, I guess, I was talking to just like people were going through what the characters kind of did, and her kind of stuff is it shortens your gauge or makes it easier to play stuff, I guess, in a way.
What do you mean?
Like, does she have any effects that in Exceed that makes her allowed to play gauge easier, or does it shrink stuff down? Like the cost, does it make cost easier? I don't know.
Like the big thing with this season is that they also had like transformations, which are almost like foundations, and there are a lot of things that if you had transformations out, it would reduce your gauge cost to flip your character. Because that was the other thing that like would use gauge. Okay. I don't remember if she really had a whole lot that would like reduce costs. I mean, she was much more about hand manipulation and like removing cards from the game, which, I guess the biggest thing that we can take from gauge and this ability is that, obviously, gauge is like a keyword ability. It's got a rating. It's like stun or multiple, powerful, breaker, whatever. And presumably, like, lower numbers are better.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So because obviously, like, she wants to use this to reduce the rating on it. So I would imagine it's some sort of, like, restriction. I would imagine that it's
okay, so before you go in first, let's go into speculation now of what gauge actually does. Go ahead. Do you have something on plate? Because I got something that I can easily say.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I think gauge, in my weird opinion, is like a rating to where if you have X of this gauge, you can do the effect on the card. Like like let's say she has like a gauge 3 card or whatever, and it says discard 1 random card from your opponent's hand or something, just in
Right.
general, something like that, because she's like a discard character in Exceed. So, or even you lower your gauge rating on the card, it says then you can transform or whatever. Or let's just hypothetically say they're not flip characters, they're stackers. Maybe you pay 6 gauge and or 7, or like say like you reduce the cost and gauge is like 4 to attach your character to get the abilities or whatever. Because I know we're all just speculating on how they transform anyways. So, but yeah, I think the gauge is actually you hit the criteria, and then so I don't know if it's like momentum they're gonna gauge it off of. Ha, that's a funny joke. Or it's like a separate stack, or like you remove it from the game because it says that you remove a card from your discard pile from the game. So maybe to like fill your gauge meter, you have to remove a card from the discard pile. But I don't know if you want to have 2 different remove from game piles, like a gauge pile and a remove from game pile, or I don't know. Like it kind of
like I don't know if it's going to be like a new zone or anything.
Yeah.
I'd imagine that it's just going to use an existing like game mechanic.
Yeah.
And I guess like the big question is whether, like you said, whether is it like a threshold, or is it something that you actually have to spend?
Sure.
You know, like so right. So if it was momentum, is it just that you need to have momentum, or is it that you need to like discard momentum?
Friend of the show and very very good man Tim Keefe says here's his guess. Gauge X means you can spend X momentum resource on hit to transform. That's what his guess is. So,
okay.
You know, Tim's a very smart man. So he.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's the thing is that for sure the What am I thinking? Sorry.
The gauge. It's okay. It's okay.
It's something, right? It's definitely not a because this is an enhance, right? It's not something where it has to do with playing the card.
Yeah,
I mean, it could have to do with like a next card, or you know, like he said, on hit, stuff like that.
It's probably an ability that's played during the enhance step, you know.
Yeah,
or there may be responses too that go off of gauge that I don't know, but I think the easiest way to as a first time ability would be just to do straight enhances, you know, or maybe work and stuff later down the road.
My feeling is definitely that it's some kind of gate, that would sort of like basically a way to have like powerful abilities on cards that you can't just play. Like, you know, I certainly like complain about, you know, missile launcher on turn 2.
Yeah.
You know, all this stuff. Well, you know, if you have cards like that, but you can play them on turn 2, but you can't use the whole card because you haven't built up like a certain criteria.
Yeah.
Like, you know, something like that would be sort of an additional like scaling, I guess, like a limiter almost on like ensuring that you have to like basically reach this point of the game before you can start using like these types of cards.
Yeah, I get it.
That I don't know. That's sort of
your hot
assumption, I guess. Yeah. Just given how gauge works in
Exceed.
It's definitely something that you build up early and then it unlocks your options later on. And I don't know. I don't know if it'll be something that you have to spend it. And I really just don't know what it'll be tied to. Like momentum is the easiest thing, but yeah, I don't know.
It's gonna be interesting because I did ask Sean Kennedy. I was like, hey man, could I know what gauge does, just so I can like make like some sort of like reference to what this card actually does? And he goes, nah, because we're gonna guile treat you right now and not give you what you want to know. So we want to know what the speculation is between all this. And I'm like, that's fair, man. I got guile treatmented on my. He's guile treating me. I can't do it. I couldn't stop it. It was too powerful, man. So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's interesting. We definitely have at least, I guess, 2 new keywords, right?
Yep.
I know Sunman had his
Frozen.
Was it Edge of Death?
Yeah.
Spoiler, which referenced Freeze.
Freeze, yeah. Which I think everyone's kind of guessing it's your foundation can't be ready during your ready step, because they've had that in the past in other mechanics. It hasn't made a big showing, and now since
it hasn't been like formalized.
Yeah, and now like I know like it kind of like how the Final Fantasy TCG does. They have a thing called Freeze where your backups stay frozen, where they stay tapped for a turn. So I think that's kind of powerful because with all the stun we have, and it has orders, so it can actually hit a lot of stun and committal, like with Sophitia and stuff. So I think there's gonna be like this balance that they're gonna have to strike like that. They're not gonna like overpower with freeze and then send this stuff out, but maybe it's just like it has to do more with the character ability than anything. So yeah, cool. The art is amazing. I know the art is going to be awesome because that art book you've seen and all the art we've posted on the shows and in the preview show was all very, very good quality art. So,
I know that uh, I guess the other possibility is you were sort of saying that if it's stacker characters, that could be the other measure of gauge. It could be like how many attached characters you have.
Oh, sure, sure.
Like that seems a bit more, but
yeah,
I guess that's even like beyond momentum, but it's also something that's like it's harder to get to, and it's also harder to get rid of.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, because like momentum already has a lot of hate to begin with, and I know when this set comes out, we're actually losing a big piece with reactive style. So that could be the thing. Like you have so much momentum. It's not even on hit momentum. It could be you have card effects that slide cards into your momentum, so you can use those gauge effects. So yeah. Stop talking about Stolen Sword. This is the show for the 7th Cross, guys. Come on. Show some love to the show. And thanks to Jasco for giving us the opportunity to preview another card. I guess they're doing more previews Friday, so I guess that's what's supposed to be starting.
I think what I heard is I think they said they like sent out I think 8 cards to different people. And I guess 8 cards, 8 characters.
Yeah.
So we've seen one. We got this. From what I've heard, the Top Deck Heroes guys have one.
Yep.
So
I know
check theirs out at 8:30,
something like that. I know Legendary Wolf was supposed to do theirs sometime today, so I know.
Yeah, I know that Miles and Shane have plans to preview something as well. So I guess keep your eyes peeled.
Yeah.
Feel free to speculate on what you think gauge is.
Yes, Tim. Eugenia is going to be the strong Chaos 7-hander we've been waiting for. You were probably correct on that one. We hope. We can only hope. But yeah. So thanks for tuning in, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Leave in the comments what you guys think Gauge does. And stay tuned for more episodes of the Guile Treatment. So we will catch you all later. See you guys. I got to get to locals. Bye.